This conference will now be
Will
recorded.
now be recorded.
Okay.
She told you.
Oh, good. Perfect. So I need to, here we go. What you do is just click that
The
with the
recording button.
okay, the record button. And like I said, just leave everything in the way. Okay.
Thank
Nice
you very
meeting
much,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
I'd like to call a meeting to order this evening. We do have quorum, so we'll be able to continue with it. Georgia is remote. Julie's here, Mike's here, and I'm here. And first of all, I'd like to approve the agenda for this evening. We vote on that. Mike, would you take notes?
I'm taking a.
Oh, you're taking notes. Perfect. And I'd like to approve the minutes from the last meeting on March 1st, 2022. So moved.
We have the-
Yeah.
Oh, I have got it.
Yeah, I didn't notice the name.
I don't think we have it. You know.
I really don't know if they've been submitted or not here.
Okay, so we will just say minutes not addressed.
That's the next meeting.
Yeah,
Yes, we'll have to do both evenings then.
since we didn't have that at next meeting. Okay,
Under new business, I believe we have representatives here to review the site plan, the Raptor Center and the neighborhood depot.
Yeah.
Like to introduce yourselves?
Certainly, my name is Bob Rizzo.
My name is Alton Ainsley.
AIMS.
AIN as in Nancy, LIE.
SLIE, and you are the architect. And
Bob Brazil, BRAZIL.
AZIL, country with 7 L. And your role?
Director of Development. at Raptor.
Thank you.
Contact information.
Okay, we got you duly noted.
So gentlemen, proceed however you'd like to.
In terms of our project, it's located on the North Avenue. It's above the 500-year floodplain. So the design of the building is, first of all, was to combine 4 nonprofits here locally to share services, energy services, facility services, to reduce the amount of overhead for administrative purposes down to 5,000 square foot. That will allow these nonprofits to reinvest in their programs, job growth, but also find a central location for people in the community to be able to walk to. The secondary purpose of the project is to act as a flood recovery center, a disaster recovery center, because it is on a parcel of land that is above the floodplain. We'll have a 1,500 square foot conference room that can act as a bedding for displaced residents. We'll also have a shower, industrial generator, and act as a place for people to go in the case of a flood. The building itself will also be elevated above the railroad track, so any water that may reach that floodplain will pass through. It won't touch the building. And Alton can speak to any kind of thing.
I believe you have 11 by 17 copies of the site plan, but.
I never got 11 by 17 copies. I just looked at the electronic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm grateful to see the word written.
We just, that's all we got.
Yeah.
You can see
Can't read that one.
on the aerial photograph, here's North Avenue, just as it dips under the railroad track here. And the current rural ministries is at the end where Depot Street dives into the parking lot there. So here's Fox Street, North Avenue, and Central Avenue, there's Depot Street. So this is oriented with Central Avenue, bottom, North Avenue at the top. You can see the blue area is the 100-year floodplain, and our site is right here. And the under 16,000 square feet, 15,971 is what it measures. It will be 1 story, and we propose 65 parking spaces. The ordinance, being that this is in an industrial zone, just 1 block outside the central business district, the ordinance for industrial requires 100 cars. Or one car for every 100 square feet, so that would be 160 cars required for this project. You can see from the site plan, with this building, to satisfy the needs, it would be virtually impossible unless we built a parking structure. This plan shows 65 spaces on the site. There'd be a main entrance off of Central Avenue where patrons could come in, and this being basically the front door of the building, with the majority of parking aligned along North Avenue, albeit up in elevation. And there would be some drop-in parking here off of Central. 2 entrances there. Of course, an entrance for Depot Street.
So do you not own the land to the left of the building?
Here?
Yeah.
No, this is a private residence located right here. There's another building here that's not shown. There are 3 residential structures on the site. One is right here, one in the middle, and then one it's a North Avenue address. And of course, here are the concrete stairways that go down to the lower elevation of North Avenue.
So those 3 residential buildings have been purchased, and the Racker Center building that there is now.
All
Right.
of this property is under one ownership.
Okay.
That is, we'll be removing those houses.
Pardon me?
We'll be removing those.
Those houses. So,
So have all the tenants moved out of those properties?
David McNeil is the owner right now. I believe they are on their way out.
are any of those houses, do any of them have, I can't see those houses in my head. Is there anything that should be architecturally salvaged from those houses?
I don't think so. No, they're not historically significant.
There's no like wood flooring or anything that should be. Because we have in Binghamton, there's an architectural salvage. There's an architectural salvage, and if there's
Mhm.
anything salvageable from that.
We can note that this is, we talked to Mr. McNeil, see, I mean, he knows the properties better than I do as far as what might be something.
Because if they're old, if there's maybe some old, I don't know, fixtures or
Like fixtures, door hardware, doors.
doors,
frames, that sort of
hinges,
thing.
that kind of stuff. I just,
We can set that.
yeah, because it would be great if that kind of stuff could be salvaged. If it's worth salvage. Did you have more you wanted to say?
No, but if you have any questions, additional questions.
Yeah.
happy to answer those.
So I'm gonna start with this, but don't panic. But you really are in the 500-year floodplain because that map isn't fully loaded. See how you have a rectilinear floodplain? What happened was somebody zoomed the map and never, there's a delay in that system. If you change the scale of the map, there's a delay because it has to like recalculate the overlay. So it is in the 500-year floodplain, but don't panic. So it is in the 500-year floodplain. So I looked at that because I didn't trust the rectilinear, the fact that you had straight lines. But, so here's the good news is that that's the inundation map from 2011 and it's dry. So I pulled up the in, and so see, here's the saw. So in the 500-year floodplain was remarkably good in the main part of the village. Like if you look at where the 500-year floodplain is and where the flood was, it was amazing, but it's wrong here. So I talked to FEMA today, I talked to DEC today, and well, all over email. And I said, so this property's in the 500-year floodplain, but it's dry. And I said, so we've had with trying to get the village in the community rating system to get discounts in flood insurance, there was a property that was built and they didn't get a floodplain development permit and they didn't build to specifications. And I've been working like 2 years to get that resolved, and Kevin Moore worked for years to get that resolved. So I said, this has to be done right. If we need a floodplain development permit, we gotta know we need a floodplain development permit from FEMA, from DEC today, unless the village has more stringent code. The 500-year floodplain is not considered the special hazard area where you would need a floodplain development permit. So I think you're good. One thing we could apply for is, so this is a letter of map amendment. And what I think could be done is to submit paperwork, if needed, to FEMA to say it's mapped in the 500-year floodplain, but the evidence is that it's not, because we know from the flood of 2011 that it was high and dry. So I printed out an extra copy in case you wanted one of these.
Thank you. And could you email me those?
Yes.
images?
Yes, I can email you. I sent all of this in an email to Meg. And I sent it to FEMA, to Jason Fenn from FEMA. So I can email the whole chain to you. But I wanted to make sure before this meeting tonight that we could resolve if we had floodplain code issues that had to be dealt with, to make sure that we do it right. But so I have now had DEC and FEMA tell me that as long as we don't have local code, so I was hoping Nate was going to be here. Because I don't know, I haven't been on this committee long enough, I don't know what our local code is, but I highly doubt that our local code is gonna be more stringent, but we have to make sure that we don't have local code that says something in the 500-year floodplain requires a floodplain development permit. The other purpose of this is that if for some reason the bank demands flood insurance, which is really expensive, this could be used to say, we don't need it. So one question I had is, what's the elevation of the first floor of this building? BFB plus what? Do you?
At the present time, the railroad track is, I believe, 818 elevation. And I'm thinking the building itself will be 820.
The first floor, because base flood elevation, you got a lot of steps up for you. Base flood elevation is 813 feet. And this is in the 500-year floodplain. So there's 813 lines and 812 lines.
On the survey.
On the, do you have elevations on survey? Because I could just have, see, there's 812, 812.2. There's an 812.2 contour. I don't see exactly what's happening here.
On the survey, there it's The elevation line that kind of winds right through here, that's 819. And this area here is 819. It gets a little bit higher in here, a little bit above 819.
Do you have a survey?
Yes, not with me.
No, can you send me some?
Yes.
Okay.
Give me your
Yep, I'll do that.
contact information.
Do I have?
I don't know. Coming from David McNeil.
819 sounds high, but so my request would just be that that first floor is at least BFE plus 3. But BFE plus 3 would be 816, because base flood's 813 in the village. So how far off of the ground is the first? I mean, is that on a slab?
Yes, it will be a slab on grade. It will be approximately
With
12 inches above the topography that's in this area. So we will take these areas and slope them away from the building.
and there's no crawl space?
No.
So we just got to see what those elevations really are.
For the survey, it was 819 in here and up in here. That site is pretty flat.
Well, I guess that is high. So if it's 819, then it's not an issue at all, because BFE plus 3 is 816. And if you're saying you're grading it up, then your first floor is really going to be 820, which is,
Plus or minus a few inches here.
so that should be no issue at all. If that's the case. I had other questions for somebody else wanted to know, because I got my first one done.
Big question for me is, what are you gonna do about the stairs to North Ave? Are they gonna be repaired, or are they gonna be moved?
We're meeting with the mayor on Friday, to discuss that, because they're not all, from what I understand, they're not the higher stairwell is on the property, some is on the village. So it's kind of figure that out. We'd like to backfill and clean them up and make it.
Because I mean, they're in pretty bad shape.
They are, yeah. The other side is too.
They have been for quite a while, of course. Like times that underpass is flooded,
Yeah,
what do you expect?
yeah, from what I understand, it's two. It's, some of it's owned by the village, some of it's owned by the property.
The property line runs right along here. So about 4 or 5 feet of the base of the stair is not within
It's
the site.
not the site.
This, I would say 75% of the stair, in this case, about 50% here and 50% on the small one are on the site. And we would propose that we infill this retaining wall, move some of the stair and then just back to what graded, so it's similar to slope there. This stair, the biggest, and the associated electrical power station is really not on the site. Power station catches the corner of it there, which doesn't show on this plan.
So that stair would stay, and you would backfill in the other two?
Yeah, it's not in any better shape than any of the others, but we would certainly take care of these three.
Are they needed?
I don't think they're needed, they've been there for years. There used to be houses on there,
The houses along here,
And people would, you know, go up the stairs to get to their house, but back years ago, that those buildings got torn down so that they could build that, the building Roman Industries is in now, which actually used to be the American Legion ambulance building.
It was a record preschool.
And we have been told from people in the rural ministry building that as long as they've been there, no one has ever used those stairs.
I attempted.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully not everyone would attempt
Attempted it. I didn't get too far, I can tell you. Took about 3 steps. I ain't doing this.
But that is a discussion that's happening. Right?
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm catching up on the floodplain stuff.
And I'm assuming this is gonna be tax exempt building. Will be no property taxes.
Be owned by nonprofit.
It's,
And I think finalized.
I think this is my last question.
To ask is easy.
I think this is my last question at this point. I went back and looked at the original, the DRI approvals. And it's stated in there that eventually residential might be put in there as well.
That was when the DRI was first done, that's not part of the plan. But when we first did it, was discussed, so it was in there, that the DRI is now, I think, 3 or 4 years removed from the initial planning. Just had to put into the language, but it's not part of this plan. And the way that, I mean, you can speak to it, the building, I don't think there's any way to go residential, it's not the fit.
No, there's, you may have an electronic copy of the floor plan. And that shows all offices and rural ministry with their storage areas and distribution location. And then a large, as Bob mentioned, 1,500 square foot meeting room in the middle.
Another question, sorry. With that, you're talking about using it for an emergency center for flooding. There were a lot of people affected by the flood. That were on the other side of North Avenue. They wouldn't be able to get over there. Is there something?
on that river.
No, yeah, I'll say that.
No,
so,
Oh, there were kids jumping off the underpass.
but to that point, the concern that I have is you have to be able to get from this building out of town. You're not gonna be able to get out of town going south. But could they, in the name of this building, reopen McMaster to Agway? Because you gotta go across the railroad tracks. They used to be open
Railroad won't allow
because you need that to get to this
them. They
building.
did open it up during the flood, but they will not open it up.
But if they,
Tried.
if there would be guarantee that in time of need,
Like with the flood. Yeah.
that becomes open, because that may be the only way you can get there. Right, because you're not gonna be able to get there from south, it's gonna be flooded out. But because it's there, if you can scoot across the tracks, you can get out of town and you can get north. But I thought that's a key issue of access to that.
Of course, the other problem too is once you got down towards 9638, that was all flooded out too.
But I thought you could get, but how long was that? Because if you went out by Agway and went north, well, how long was Turner?
That was all down for about a week.
But you could get out and you could go East Avenue. Right? You could come out of Agway, go cross that North Avenue, go East Avenue and get out.
You have to take a lot of back roads because once you come back down, like Davis Hill, that was all the East Front Street, they couldn't get down to East Front Street. You couldn't get over, but the avenue was flooded. Front Street was flooded. You couldn't. That was 2011. You couldn't get around. You were kind of stuck.
Yeah, I was just thinking that you had that northern exit route. That's much better than if that building were close to the river.
Because I was kind of stuck on Gilligan's Island. And when it did start to go down, we were able to go down to South Depot Street and take the tracks down a little bit to get on to East Ave to get over that way. But that took a couple of days.
I moved my car to Prospect Street. So we got rid of that because we just went Prospect and got out. But it seems like there should be some discussions about access over McMaster Ave. Because that's the most viable path. Even though it's certainly not.
Yeah. It's up to, the last I knew, not open across. They opened it during the flood.
Well, she's talking during the flood.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if that was an
Emergency vehicles.
emergency thing or if not, but people were.
So that was one question that I had with respect to parking was, so there's space between Mario's and video. Some parking, right?
That would be this area right
Yeah.
here.
Could,
We
could,
don't control that. That's
so
property, the site.
who owns the spot kitty corner where the restaurant is?
Not sure the holes that, But, yeah, I know what spot you're talking
You know what
about.
I'm talking about? Right.
I know what spot you're talking about. It's a corner of Fox and
The
Central.
corner of Fox and Central right now is empty. Could that be parking?
They'd have to purchase a lot.
And I don't know what, because what I was thinking was, you said you have a 1,500 square foot conference room. And I think you said you would put 100 to 150 people would be the event size in that room. So if you have 150 people and you have an event and you have people who work in the building that day there, then how many cars is that?
You could have easily 150 cars. Assuming some of the people that come to the event would be sharing rides.
So is there any other place to try to just get a little more
There's this,
parking?
is that a
That's Home Depot's parking,
Home
or
Depot.
Home Central's parking.
home center? There's that part. Say there's this one here. These two lots.
We don't, I mean, if there's an event there for 100 people, I would be shocked. I think that the capacity of the mostly is fairly workforce training, things like that. It wouldn't be so much of an event space. In the case of, between Rapper, Title United Way, Rural Ministry, and charities, most of it's administrative space. The nonprofit that probably has the most visitors would be Rural Ministry. And most of that is on weekends for the food pantry and classes and stuff like that. But as far as having that many people on site, I don't anticipate that happening. But you never know. It's not really an event space, so to speak. It's more of a conference or training center.
So if you were to open it up in an emergency situation, people say they're flooded out.
Yeah.
Pardon?
It will be driving.
Yeah.
No, but this is another thing. How many people could possibly stay there for how long a period of time? Say they all brought their sleeping bags, you have a family of 4, and they're flooded out for a week. Could you?
I don't know if I put a number on that. We talked to the Red Cross when we were designing this, and I think they said somewhere they were like 40. But that was, that was all kind of conversational as far as how many square feet and talking about cots and beds and things like that, and showers. It was around,
So there's enough bathrooms and showers, basically?
there'll be a shower, there's 2 showers.
With one shower, family restroom, and then there's a larger men and women's gang restroom.
But there's only one shower.
And then there's a whole big, large kitchen for storage of food that is part of this.
Walk-in cooler freezer.
Would they do, Meals on Wheels out of there? In that kitchen or no?
I'm not sure. I think most of it is not being transported out, but people coming in to grab.
Oh,
Most of it. And she also does financial literacy cooking classes at the same time on Saturday.
are you looking to see who owns that empty
Yeah.
lot?
Yeah.
Because that empty, that where there was a restaurant then burned down is just on the other side of,
Street.
of the block. If you go kitty corner over. Fox and Central, it's the southwest corner of town. Yeah, yeah, and does that look like nothing?
This is
Old?
Google Earth, so it's probably 2 years old.
Let me see if it's in that. Right, because I'm in the right spot where the restaurant burned down, aren't I? I'm in the right spot where the restaurant burned down on that corner, aren't I, or am I off?
Yeah, it was right next to the old Belliers Hall.
There's some new construction going on in this corner.
Yeah, that's the Home Central.
That's right here. That's right.
It's actually the vacant lot right across from where they're doing the Home Central building.
That's DRI project.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, that corner you're talking about is outside this photograph. So
I believe the owner is McNeil Development. But I'm not.
So doesn't the DRI still have money
That I
that
don't know.
couldn't be used for? Yeah, that's.
Now, the DRA funds originally had to be used in a certain period of time, correct? And because of COVID, it was changed.
Yeah, there was definitely, they did increase the staff. So as they're raising funds for this project, in the middle of $3 million grant as well, CDBG years. But there are these 2 years until federal money starts coming. I could call David right now and ask if that is his problem.
He said he'd call McNeil, see if it's his property.
I'm sure it's, I'm not sure if I have the right property. But
I think his only personal effect he has legal, I think, one for I mean, he was at a meeting today to talk about this. Available.
it used to be Bill's Dagger. On the 18th century. Yeah, that's nice.
Somebody just put out. I don't have no idea. Well, I was just trying to think, where else could you, and see the park, there's gonna be parking here. Right, on Central by the art. There's parking in there now, is that close enough that you can count that? for this, because there is gonna be, I believe, I haven't seen a recent one, have you seen a recent art park? Because the art park, which is gonna be in there, the one version that I saw, they had this whole edge. That would be, that would provide more. But I haven't seen an art park design.
Well, the new brewery wanted to submit that Scott Smith parking lot was available to them to get enough parking spaces in, and that's like 3 blocks away. So if you're only talking away, that would probably be fine.
So
Type law right up parking too.
Yeah, they use Scott Smith.
They used to do that.
Yeah.
But that's not far from our building.
But Scott Smith is really very generous, especially after hours. Probably welcome to that.
I've seen McNeil Properties has 138 to 140, 142 to 144, 146 to 148.
Which was the one that you.
But the one that we're talking about is 119, and I'm not showing any.
No, saying that.
Yeah, all those parcels are this.
Tangle what's on. Can't pull it off.
But it may have been purchased and combined into another property.
yeah, I mean, it's just nothing. It's just,
Because there are, I mean, there's a 2-family on Fox Street that corners it. Their property on Central Avenue, that borders it. One of them might have bought it, combined it.
Approaching.
David McNeil discussing this in general, he's on the corner there, possibly acquiring that property as well, but he's actually very much in favor of the project, but just he wants to see. But we looked at that property on the corner right across from, I think it's Home Central, right, is that the house?
Yeah, it's where they're building, where they're building this empty lot. Site plan,
yeah,
across from where Home Central is building their showroom.
I would say that
the home center's going right here. This home center's going, or home center's going here,
Home Central's going.
there,
On the lot.
it's right here. Did you see it? I wonder if that's it, because did they issue Home Central a variance for parking? Because didn't Home Central need a parking variance?
Yeah, we had a meeting on that.
They didn't go to 4 to 5 hours at any given time there.
And, well, I didn't think they would be,
Not that many people are doing that.
and I didn't think it would be either, they have all this parking. They still have.
The only time I see a large amount of cars on the road on the streets when they're doing the food giveaway.
No,
Yeah,
and the only thing I was thinking is if that's really an event space. I was thinking there's gonna be people coming, but if it's really not an event.
yeah, it's a conference, workforce development, workforce training, boardroom, board space, if you have talks that are there, talks about the emergency space as well, but we don't plan on holding speaker series or anything.
And like that, and then.
And we could always.
okay. So,
Well, I never. That'll be outdoor conference, right in the parking spaces.
well, the showers, will they be available for, say, homeless if they show up? Hey, shower in a week, can I use the shower?
That's not part of our plan, right? It hasn't been discussed.
I was just curious.
But it is part of a single user family restroom, handicap accessible. So there's a sink, a toilet, shower, changing station. So it's fully ADA accessible.
So then a public restaurant?
Not
Not,
business hours. I don't know.
Okay.
I believe it's-
okay. Okay, what other questions do I have?
Go right ahead.
So my biggest issues were the fact that it was in the 500-year and making sure that it got dealt with appropriately. And the parking and that big conference room.
And you're talking about the stairs, backfilling them and then in, I'm trying to, this, part of that, there's concrete walls. So you're gonna build that, is that gonna get built up or?
The retaining wall, we would have to infill that opening, the retaining wall, to match what's there.
What's there, okay.
And then fill, break out the stairs so it'll drain, and then backfill that.
And where those opens are still gonna be there.
No,
I would just see some cases, some sliding time.
So it's at a retaining wall, allow for drainage and fill in.
that would be certainly the recommendation. We don't have to be. But, yeah, see those openings remaining.
So I just see some,
It's a lot.
decided to be a smart, or at least go sliding in the way.
Once,
Yeah, that's nice.
Any other questions?
Oh, anybody ask Georgia if she's got
I'm
any?
about to.
Okay.
George, is there any
I
questions?
think that you covered the things I was thinking about, because I was also thinking about the stairs to North Ave. But you were talking, I think that had already been discussed. And I was also curious about the parking, if there was a way that we could get extra parking somewhere. And I don't know if there's parking on the street around there, like on Central Ave.
Yeah, so how do we get the current version of the art? Who's got that? To see how many spaces that we have.
Tell us, yeah.
Yeah.
I think when we're talking about certain events at the Rec Center and having the parking available, are we talking about everybody that's working that day going to attend the event along with people from the community?
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. If you have all the people who work there and they're 20-some cars and then if you were bringing in people. But yeah, it seems.
But I think like with any place where you have an event like that, you tend to find, I mean, I know being in this community, it's hard to find parking, but you do tend to find it. I mean, you just have to walk usually to get somewhere.
So do we know the letter of the law on how far from the site we could go to call that accessible parking?
All that's something you have to think. You go, I mean, I honestly don't see an issue with the number of parking spaces they have for the amount of people that are going in there day.
For, right,
It's like a 60 to 120, what you're guessing, going in and out.
Yeah, so a week, yeah.
Yeah, a week.
yeah.
So that's, it's not like you're gonna have, 100 people for a meeting or an event or or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's a correct, speaking for RAC, our board meetings, and you know, that we would most of everybody's already left. So,
Yeah, that's true
you
too.
know, local ministries or,
So it's staggered.
I went by the site today, new rural ministries have four government departments.
All I've ever seen is usually when they're doing some sort of food giveaway, you know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or, you know, the food trucks, the food trucks there or something,
They're in and out.
yeah. And I don't think, I'm sure meetings would probably be when Home Central's closed. I don't think they would have an issue with people parking there.
Yeah, I was just hung up that I was thinking they were gonna hold conferences for 150 to 200 people. But I think I sort of misread the conference room that housed 150 to 200 people. So I think I misinterpreted intention, and that's what caused most of my concern. It says showers with a plural in this document. Yeah. So now it doesn't seem like it's gonna be a showstopper of an issue. And it seems like it could be boosted if we could find out what other additional spaces could be listed as overflow.
yeah, we can, that can be a good neighbor, so I mean, we can use, they can use our parking lot, we can use theirs, or
Usually that's the way it works. They're very generous.
And Home Central are good people. I don't think they had an issue.
yeah, we met with them when we were doing the DRI project. We talked to the neighborhood for its residential property. I can talk to Brian Scandal, that's in the sun, just make sure that he's enrolled us, making that request of them. Yeah.
That's no problem. So I think it'll be a problem.
Right across the tracks.
Did somebody mention Scott Smith? For parking? Scott Smith's son?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. I just wasn't sure, like, because that would obviously walking. I mean, how far away is that? I mean, how far away is that?
It's not far. It's not far at all.
Yeah, because I mean, I parked there when I go to the Owego Players. They allow that.
Section of stuff. So the full wall, overflow parking, right?
And this end of Depot Street is,
Yeah, it's wide enough. Yeah. That's gonna get paved, right?
if the village decides to pay for it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's.
It's wide enough, but yeah, could they add, yeah, parking?
I drove down there this weekend, just kind of. Like, how was it long?
Every weekend.
Can you have unofficial parking between Depot and the track? Can you do that? Just park between, pull off the Depot? Is there enough room? Or is it too?
Yeah, it's a wide section. There. Yeah,
Yeah, can you do that?
because I did see people doing that at one.
So we're tight along, he sold out shore, big crowd, parking street, and then just do a full parking takes care of it.
Because if they could park on that other side of Depot, you can always get out because you have the road.
Like the Home Central, let them use the overflow.
There seems
I mean,
like there's a
can't speak
lot.
for them, but I'm sure they'll. And plus you have street parking there downtown Grand Central. Park on the street, so you guys are, the drives trailer is always got straight, trailer park there.
There's a lot more open land there than in a lot of other parts.
And then you've got a lot of parking on the other side of Home Central.
Yeah, it seems that this could be, could just make them. It's just unofficial.
Well, they've got paid.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
I think with the parking set aside, I want to say the building is beautiful.
It is a beautiful building. Kudos to the building.
It's gorgeous.
Kind of the railroad vernacular there.
I mean,
It
it would-
reminds me of some of the rest stops I've stopped at, travel.
You stop there.
I know it's got a couple.
He knows people. Any other questions? Any other?
I do have one question.
Oh, okay.
So, this whole thing, I'm looking at the rooms, just out of my own curiosity. I'm an educator. Are there going to be any classrooms in here? Is this just offices?
No classrooms. This will be a record preschool. This is just offices and conference space. And some of the stuff that are like the kitchen and things that rural ministry needs for their programs as well, but it wouldn't be classrooms. So.
Okay.
Anything else from you, gentlemen?
No, we appreciate your time and it's very thorough. Appreciate that.
Joy, if I can get your email, I will send you the survey.
Yeah, I'm gonna email you right now
Okay.
the whole conversation with FEMA and DEC about the 500-year stuff. And this just has to go through me. We just gotta make sure there's nothing in the highly doubt it. But I'll forward it to you and I'll forward it to me in light of.
So POBB is Bob B. at record.
RACKER. And. Okay, so I will send it.
Did you use any ideas for your design? The old train station is right across the road from.
I looked at some of the surrounding buildings and yeah, that's kind of where I thought we needed to stay with the river theme.
We appreciate that. Character.
Thank you. I appreciate your response and your thoughts.
So as I'm familiar with this process, what are the next steps for the zoning board? What has to happen next for just do, I guess, do I know what the zoning board means? Does the area variance go next to this?
The way I understood it was this was supposed to be an informational meeting for us.
And then there's the public
Public hearing on the
Hearing.
26th.
26.
For us, it'll be a public hearing for the zoning board. So I think, I don't take me for my word for it, but that could be what you're meeting tomorrow with zoning board is just an informational thing like us.
Yeah, we were talking with Team Owego today, and said, because we were applying for a $3 million grant project goal through the CDBG, and they look for approvals. They said that once the area variance is done, I just didn't know. I'll be here tomorrow for that meeting, but I just didn't know if I need to just simply present at that meeting. If there was some area variance that goes to that. I know the grant
I would ask
is.
May.
I saw it somewhere.
Yeah, it was somewhere. Isn't it? Okay.
See if I can find it. I also like the lights you can use for parking.
There would be wall packs on the building, but with the overhang, we could install soffit lights that will just shine down, so there won't be any bleeding light over to the front.
To the residential.
So on 6 o'clock tomorrow with the zoning board. And then public hearing on April 26th, planning board. And a public hearing on the 27th with the zoning.
And do you have that sheet?
Just give it-
That's from the county board.
So would you be, you would not be making a recommendation tonight to the village?
Not tonight,
That's
tonight's
about-
informational.
Yeah.
We have public hearing first.
Yeah. The agenda.
I think a couple of them are. This is another test. One of the county's conditions on here was something about the supply the village planning board ground sign specifications that the village zoning code.
We
Regulations.
have not designed the ground signs yet. We certainly be within the ordinance.
More questions? Some people to close meeting.
I know that we both know. Okay, so I'm gonna just say in conclusion there. Oh, so parking, let me just say.
So
So,
I'll shut this recording.
yeah.
Julie's our IT.
I do like it. I really like it.